and we'll take the calls as they come in. Right now, we will start on the issue of mental illness. Joe on WABC. Thanks for joining us. Joe, what's your point?
Yes, Dr. Savage, I'm a 60% disabled Vietnam vet, PTSD. I see a doctor at the VA hospital, and now I'm concerned about going back at all. I own 6 guns, registered, and I go to bed every night with my 9mm next to me for home security. And another point I have is I argue with my girlfriend, who's a liberal, that these gun buyback programs are a joke. The only ones that's throwing their guns back are the law-abiding citizens for money, and the criminals get to keep their guns. So now
the only thing that controlled violence in New York City was when we had a mayor who let the cops stop and frisk thugs. That reduced gun violence. And the fact of the matter is, this is not common sense gun control. This will enable healthcare providers to become snitches and declare anyone mentally ill to an FBI firearms background check system that will take their guns away. And that means any vet with PTSD will lose his gun. That's what you're afraid of, correct?
I think the other one he's the nut. I mean, not to be rude, but this guy's crazy. I've never thought our country would see a president like this. I'll tell you right now.
Joe, when you fought in Vietnam, did you ever think that you would be fighting to permit a man like this to be president?
Never, ever, ever. I'm a patriot. I love my country. After 9/11,
when you were fighting in Vietnam, you were fighting against a communist tyranny that eventually won because of the very same forces that have destroyed us from within here, which is the American media and the American left undermined the military then, just as they have undermined America and the Constitution today. The forces of the left, the 1960s are back, only now they're running the country, and they're running it from the top down rather than from the streets up. But when you were fighting in Vietnam, you were fighting a communist regime, and the leader of that communist regime was a man named Ho Chi Minh. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. I was there during the time of his death, and I have the...
Now, do you remember what the American left, the very same rabble that was in the gutters of America spitting on you when you came back from Vietnam, the very same vermin that are now running America, do you remember what they were chanting in the streets? It was something, hey, hey, ho, ho, about Ho Chi Minh. They loved Ho Chi Minh. Do you remember what Jane Fonda did? Posing with an anti-aircraft gun with the North Vietnamese? Well, let me tell you something. They're now running and ruining America. But Barack Obama, the reason I bring up Ho Chi Minh is that Barack Obama reminds me of Ho Chi Minh, by the way. Kind of tall, somewhat lean, elegant in his speech, articulate in his speech, and a total zealot for his cause. In that regard, we have Ho Chi Minh in the White House in some regard, don't we?
That's correct. That's correct. And when Jane Fonda comes on the TV, I thought, my kid, turn it off. And I can't...
Let me ask you this before you go, Joe. Do you ever, in your PTSD, get enraged and pick up that gun and wave it at anyone?
Oh, no.
Have you ever threatened anyone with your gun that no one knows about? Have you waved it at your girlfriend? No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
not. So here's what I want to know. When you feel rage coming over you, and you have weapons in your house, why don't you reach for the weapon? What prevents you from reaching for the gun?
I'm saying I wouldn't hurt anyone unless they were going to harm my kids or myself in my house.
All right, so there you go. Well, now try telling that to a goon in the FBI when they send an investigator, some 22-year-old pimply girl from NYU, who will now work for the FBI in the gun check department. Go tell that to some child raised on Adderall, that you're not a dangerous man, you're just a patriot who wants to protect his family. See what the girl from NYU has to say to you, Joe, because that's the America that Obama has in mind for you. Joe, although it's 2016 and Christmas has just left us, I'm going to send you a book for a patriot, which is Government Zero. Because whether you know it or not, I have an entire number of pages about gun control in that book. I sadly predicted this very day in Government Zero, and I'm not going to read from it today, but I want you to have that.